Okay, great, it's recording. Welcome to... That's incredible, I'm sorry.
Should start it again.
No, we can't.
We can?
No, I don't think we
start
can.
talking about the film yet. Alright, go on, carry on.
So I promised myself that I wouldn't say instantly did it. So that's great. Welcome to Bros Talk Film. This is a show on YouTube and a podcast on SoundCloud during which brothers talk about film. It's not a review show, it's a show in which we basically just talk about a film that we've just seen. My name is Ryd Cook and I'm a filmmaker.
I'm Josh Cook and I'm a video maker.
Cool. Let's quickly go through the rules. The rules are we haven't discussed the film at all before. Oh, bollocks. We really balls this one up. We've broken one of the rules already.
Second rule is 35 minutes. I've just started the timer, so we might go a little bit over on the time thing. But
Yeah, so we've ruined that one.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. So 35 minutes is the other rule. So you haven't discussed the film we've just watched. 35 minutes, and that's it, and then we're going to cut. And and obviously we're going to discuss the film, so obviously we're going to spoil it. So yes, the film this month is, and I'm going to show you IMDb because we watched it on Netflix. Beasts of No Nation, can't say it. Beasts of No Nation. It's available on Netflix, UK Netflix anyway. Probably some other ones to watch if you have that. That's the film that we watched. That's what we're going to discuss.
Cool. Do you want to start? Because I'm not entirely sure how I feel or where to start.
Okay.
Have you got anything to start with?
Well, I think that a good start would
Okay.
be to start with just a question. What did you think? Did you like it?
That's why I want you to start. What did you think?
Oh, you're going to start with me?
Yeah,
What did I
that's
think?
what I'm struggling a bit.
Yeah, you're struggling to
like.
think.
Hopefully, your thoughts will allow me to.
Because we've literally only just finished watching it. So we you know.
What did you think?
Well, I thought. Wait, just have a sip of my tea. Let me think. Just gotta think of the word.
Very interesting so far.
It's funny that you said interesting because that was my first overriding thing. What do I think of this film? And I thought interesting, but then I thought interesting is sort of a horrible word. You know, it's like the last thing. Like as a filmmaker myself, if someone says they're like, "Oh, your film is interesting," yeah, I was just
right.
Yeah, but actually, so I upped it and I thought actually I found the film fascinating, and I genuinely did because I just one thing I thought was great about the film is that I have never I know nothing of this world.
Yeah, see that's where my struggle comes from, in that not that I find it very hard. Normally I don't find it hard to identify with characters and stuff, but this is so outside what I have ever experienced.
Yeah.
And anything I can relate to. I mean, obviously I can understand it's horrible what has happened to some of the characters in this film.
Yeah.
But it's so different that I struggle to identify with it. So I struggled to really emotionally connect with it.
Yeah.
Like, and I think, really that kind of sums up a problem that probably most people have when you think about real stuff like this happening.
Definitely.
It's so outside your experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
That it's very difficult to connect with.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm kind of like, I don't think it was, I hasten even to use the word a bad film. It was an amazingly well made film. Yeah.
But
it left me feeling odd.
I actually felt exactly the same.
Right, okay. Cool.
Which will make for a great discussion, won't it? No, I think, but I actually think we bring that back to another point about how the film was made and why the film was made. Because I felt the same. I felt that I couldn't relate to the characters as well because I have no idea of that situation. But I think let's, because it's really interesting, Beasts of No Nation, because presumably you know this, you've seen the film. it's a Netflix original. So I actually think that arguably without Netflix, this film might not have been made because of this. Because it's not an easy sell. Yeah. I don't think. So yeah, I think that's a really, really interesting point. I don't think
it definitely, whether or not it would have been made is a difficult question to ask, because lots of films that are difficult sales get made. I think whether it would have been made in the same way is a very different
that's
matter.
That's another really good point. Yeah.
Another thing I found I thought was great about it is like there's a rule in filmmaking, because it's a visual medium, you show and don't tell. Yeah. And there is a lot of showing in this film.
Yeah, definitely.
There is very little dialogue, very little, and even a lot of the dialogue that is there is very difficult to. For me, I don't know. Like obviously, it's not accent that I come across a lot. It's very thick. It's almost. I feel the same as probably Americans feel watching something British that was set in
definitely
Newcastle or Liverpool or something like that. Like
so I think this is one of the things why I think it's probably a really hard sell. Yeah. And why it potentially wouldn't have been funded by the usual. It wouldn't have been funded in Hollywood. I don't think
it would have been diluted a bit. I feel. Yeah. And I'm glad that it wasn't, because it felt very authentic.
Yeah, definitely.
Very, very. But then to say that, at the beginning of the film, talking about the style of it, I felt it almost was very documentary-like. It wasn't
absolutely.
Grand camera moves, and it wasn't perfect framing. Very naturalistic. But then there are moments where it goes, and the more it progresses, I think, to its credit, it starts like that. Yeah. Probably to make you feel like this is all normal. He's with his family. He's happy. As it gets more and more dark and more out there, it gets more and more metaphorical, and it gets more and more. There is more and more symbolism. In the film. Yeah. For instance, right at the end, where he's walking through the trenches and. Pretty much, you assume half the people that you see sitting in the water are dead, and it's like they're walking through a grave. It's like he is walking through a grave. He is 6 feet. He is pretty much 6 feet down in the ground. It's just his attitude in that bit is couldn't give a shit anymore. He is completely desensitized to everything. You contrast that with the beginning of the film. And there's almost a return to it at the end of the film. Yeah. But, it's very interesting how it just slowly but surely, it gets more artistic and more kind of... Yeah.
Well, I think throughout the film it does have... I mean, my overall opinion of the film is that I think I feel the same as you. I don't think... I thought it was very... interesting and immersive, because of that style of documentary. So it felt, and also the perspective. And I do agree with you. I think the more it went on, the more because there was this sort of fantastical element to it, wasn't it?
Yeah, so things that happened. The pink bit and the tribal warriors.
Yeah, when they saw it was twice that you saw tribal warriors.
It's that symbolism again, at that point, that's how they see themselves. He sees those tribal warriors walking through this land. That's how they see themselves. They see themselves as this tribe that are going in and kind of taking back their country, and it's that's very much how they see that warfare. And assuming it's tribal, and it's very much about although it's about this grand kind of not grand, sorry, bigger story of this country in war. Yeah, it's really more about his journey as a child.
Well, that's what it is about. Soldier. Because interestingly, when I brought up the IMDb, it says, I can read it now. On IMDb, it says a drama based on the experiences of Argu, a child soldier fighting in a civil war of an unnamed African country.
That's true.
Which is really interesting. That actually makes it so spot on what you just said. It is about his journey.
Yeah.
It's not about the politics. It's not about what has.
Because they don't. I didn't notice actually
country,
that they didn't talk about what country it is.
Yeah.
But I did notice.
I had to say
because there's the scene where they're taking the bridge.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was like a bit. Well, I don't know who they're fighting. And I don't know if that's very intentional of who are they fighting? What are they doing? Why are they trying to do this?
Yeah.
You understand Agu's reasoning, why he's with the people, what happened, what it seemed like anyway, the country's military, the actual military killed his family. So you can understand why he's angry. He's young. He just got taken in by the commandant as a very charismatic person. But at that point I was kind of like, the people they're fighting right now aren't in military uniforms. It almost was like a bit confusing. Yeah. But I think intentionally so to make you because
you're on his journny.
You're his level, journey, and he's very early on in that. I think that's the first time he seems to fire a gun. Cause he takes a shot and he's kind of shocked by it and then carries on and
I think that's a really good element about the film is that it immerses you in the world of what it's like to be a child, have your and I quite like how it was so just sort of blunt. Things just happened. His father was just shot, and then he walks back and his brother's dead. Bam, just done. There's no big drama about it. It was just very documentary sort of.
There are hints. I mean, when his brother gets shot, there's a bit of kind of dramatic suspension because obviously the soldiers don't then they shot his brother, but they give him enough chance to kind of look around and go, oh, what's going on?
True.
So there's a little bit, but you're right. There's no drama. There's no big ceremony about it. Whereas later in the film,
there is.
With Stryker. I was going to talk about the two deaths that come very close together. The first, is it 2C? I think it's the rank, isn't it? He's called 2C. The guy that gets shot in the house.
Yeah.
His funeral, and then essentially Stryker's funeral.
Yeah.
And the difference in meaning between those, and to us, even though he's betrayed, we know, it never says it, blatantly the commandant arranged. It's very blatant that the commandant arranged for him to die. And his funeral is this big, all of them very arty, very interestingly shot in weird stairwell, and then you get the shot of all the centipede things, just revealing the bones and you've got Argu's voiceover over the top of it, I think, talking about how he's becoming desensitized to death.
Yeah. There's another element.
And then you have, very soon after that, you have Stryker's funeral, which is over like that. Most of the kids kind of just shrug it off.
Yeah.
The reasoning behind Stryker dying as well, how did he? You hear some gunshots, and then he's.
Well, again, I think
that from the attack the night before.
Yeah, you don't know, and that's another thing I liked about it, is it's just something that happened.
Yeah.
And that's what it is in life. It just death all the time in this.
Yeah, and it sums up the futility of it, and how he is so quickly forgotten. And these child soldiers are just it sums up that whole thing. They're just instantly forgotten, and they're just and it sums up a lot of stuff. Like I said, I really liked a lot of the show Don't Tell in it. There's a scene where a bunch of the child soldiers are pretending to be officers, and one of them saluting and going, yes sir, yes sir. And they're having fun, and it's like they're laughing and joking, and then the camera suddenly cuts to Arthur and it pans round, and there's a soldier executing someone behind them, and it turns back to them, and they're just carrying on.
Which is great, really good editing. It looked to me like it was in the same place.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So it was happening at the same time.
Yeah.
And to me, that really, it showed you how desensitized they were getting.
Yeah.
There's a large montage where it's not blatantly a montage because there's longer scenes in it, but it shows argue. So yeah, through a couple of months and how he changes from
and
this
that's some great editing
timid
there, isn't there? Yeah.
child to destroying that house and shooting that woman in the head. And kicking the crap out of a really young girl.
Horrific scene.
It's a very horrific scene, but he
is judging himself while he's doing it. I think that voiceover is really, that's a really good thing to connect us to that character. Because although the things we're seeing are horrific and we're wondering why he's doing them, we understand the reasons why he's there, and he's also questioning these things himself, as are we.
And obviously he's too young to process it all. He's too young to understand it, and he's got caught up in all this. And
that's why I think it's a very, I think it's an amazing film. I'd struggle to recommend it, but I'd say definitely watch it if you are.
I'd struggle to recommend it just because it's very brutal.
Yeah, I mean it's just not my cup of tea really. It's just too. I mean I wouldn't watch a documentary about this. That's actually in. Imagine if the camera was just like as it was in the film, because I'd struggle with that because I can't do that.
Yeah,
I was thinking about this, and I think it's important to make films like this.
Yeah,
actually, I think it's more important to make fiction films like this. There is a place for documentaries, but I think I find it really weird when actually something's actually happening. But the fact is, with this film, Beasts of No Nation, is stuff like this has happened. Children have gone through this kind of thing, and I think cinema, it is an incredible thing that cinema can do that puts us in this world and goes, what is it like for a child to have their family taken from them and then go into this world of war, and then what's next, and there's elements of hopelessness, and I think that's why it's a difficult film to get on with, because you're like, is he going to find his mother? What's next? Like, and I mean, as he even says it himself in the voiceover, he says something like, the only way to, all it is it's not the exact words, but he says it's fighting or
death.
The only way at the end of the fighting is death. And then he gets to the end, and what I really liked about the ending was, at the end he finds this sort of place that seems to be quite peaceful. But even then, it's not the end, because he's still got the demons in his head, and then also there's the other people going, no, I'm sick of this, we need money.
Yeah, it does show you that
it continues, and it's never ending. So it shows you. It makes me feel as a person, very lucky to be not in that situation. Yeah. And also, it is fascinating to look into that world of hopelessness. What do you do?
Well, it's like you say. I think he says it's like fighting or death, and that's how he feels. And then he gets to the sanctuary kind of place, and it is almost like, well, he can't process what he's been through, so literally that is his choices.
Yeah.
Although the film does end on a hopeful note, I think, with him running into the water to join them all.
Yeah, it does.
Playing.
It does. Yeah.
Where it goes from there, you don't know, but it does end slightly hopefully.
Yeah. It does. But it's still unknown, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's still unknown. And you see that there's that guy that comes in
and wants to just go straight back and be a soldier because that's all he knows.
Well, yeah, there's that guy, but there's also the guy, his teacher as well, who comes in, and at first you think, oh well, he's managing this situation, but then very quickly you see that he's struggling too, and people, so I thought that was really, I liked how it really didn't give like a very happy, well-rounded ending. And it was very honest and blunt, and actually it felt like watching real life. It really
it did. I was going to say, it never, for a film that brought up a lot of issues, it never really tells you what to think about them. Which is where I think the whole, if it was made somewhere else, it would all be a lot more clear cut.
Yeah.
It would have had a lot more edits. It would have had a lot more kind of reviewing done. I mean, I don't know. Like, it's Netflix, so I'm sure. I'm assuming it was made on a quite small budget.
Yeah.
So they were taking a smaller risk on it. And you could always look it up on IMDb, actually, probably. But it doesn't really matter. But yeah, it probably would have been very different. It would have been a lot more clear cut. The morals in it would have been a lot more clear cut, because it does leave you. It sympathises you with these people that are going around macheting people.
Yeah,
you know. I mean, no one is a good guy in this film. There isn't a good guy.
And I actually think it could have done with a bit more of that. So there was one scene in particular, and just a bit. I mean, I wouldn't want loads. You know, I wouldn't want it to go totally in that direction, because I think it's a real strength of the film. But the bit where he killed his first man, I didn't think he was going to do it, you know, and I didn't feel like he had reason enough to do it, you know. And then there's the whole, you know, the commandant saying in the background, you know, this is the people that killed your father, your mother. Where is your mother? Where is your mother? And I actually think the relationship with Argu's mother was kind of integral to the film. Towards the end, you know, when he was carrying Stryker, he said, "I can hear my mother singing." There's a bit where he almost mistakes a woman for his mother, which I think is interesting. But I think that would have been so much stronger had we seen at the beginning more of him and his mum. All we see of Argu and his mum is him learning a bit of English, which really also all that serves is telling us that
more of his brother and his father. Really.
Exactly, which is weird because, you know, like, I mean, I liked how there was a sort of goal there. You know, he wanted to get his mother, and he never gets there, which is true to life. You know, that is how it would happen. You know, more Hollywood would be like, oh, he finds his mother at the end, very happy, isn't that sad? You know, which is great. But I still think, you know, for me, there wasn't reason enough. When he killed that man, I couldn't go with it. I still thought it was disgusting and horrible. I still thought, you know,
I don't see what other choice he had though.
Yeah. But I think that scene would have been much better, much more powerful, or the whole film would have been much more powerful had we seen a bit more of the relationship with his mother.
But it's making it
because we can all relate to that, can't we? And that's why we do relate to Argu, because we've all got families, and he says that at the end, doesn't he?
It does make a good point, though. That bit is kind of, it shows the brutality of it, because the guy is literally saying, look, I'm not a soldier, I'm just... I can't remember what he said. He was an engineer or whatever. So yeah, he was an engineer to build.
Yeah, exactly. The things he was saying, like,
so. Well, then Argu knows that he's got to do it. I mean, what other choices he got? He's got to ingratiate himself with these people.
Yeah. I don't know.
Otherwise, they'll probably just shoot him.
Yeah, and that was a really interesting thing about the choices that these people make. You know, why did they stay, why did they go, you know, and at the end when they all just leave, you know, it was
for me, the end and what happened to all the commandant and the bit in the trenches, it all fell apart a bit for me. Like it just felt like, okay, well, we want the commandant to feel a bit like he's been snubbed and like he's not a good person, so he doesn't get everything he wants.
Yeah, sure. I never really liked him.
You know, I don't think you ever meant it well.
No, but I never related to him.
I don't think it just kind of went, oh, here's the end of that character. And it's just like...
Well, I think the end of that character was when he had that meeting with the guy. And I think there's a point of realisation, and the point where the guy who's been shot dies, you know, and he says... Well, basically, I think there's a point of realisation with the commandant where he's having that meeting with the lead dude, you know, the politician.
Supreme Commander.
And he says, you know, you're just... it's just obedience. Obedience, that's it. You know, and he's like, where's my money, where's my reward, and all that stuff. And he's like, well, no, you're just a soldier. And that's it. There's nothing beyond that. But you can, whereas, you know, his character had dreams. He was telling all his battalion about, you know, when we get to this place, it's going to be like this, it's going to be like that. And I think there was a moment of realisation there for him where, you know, when will this ever end? And then also when the guy dies and he's with Argu, he says, this is all for nothing. You know, and I think that they're all just...
I just think it could have had a stronger end for him. Like, but then it goes against kind of the like what we were talking about, this very true to life. Like, I know that we've said that it also has its artistic kind of symbolism to it as well. But yeah, if it had some big grand thing where they had all turned on him and shot him or something, and it was a big moment, then yeah, maybe it would have felt a bit out of place. But I do feel like they could have. Maybe he should have tried to like had him go out in more of a blaze of glory rather than a kind of like quiet. But I guess that would be giving that would be giving him what he wanted as a character, like to just let all he wanted to be the commander. He wanted to be. These are my men, you know. I am their father, and at the end they just all leave him because they know he doesn't really give a shit about them.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It was like.
I think that really. I mean, I wrote down some notes about it. It was fascinating to see into this world, the culture, the language. The language I thought was very interesting. Now, I like what you were saying earlier about how, all the language felt completely natural to me. Even though a lot of the time they were speaking English.
It wasn't dressed up. It wasn't.
No. You know, they said English in their own English, their own version of English. Which is how it is, I think, in some of these countries. Obviously, the country wasn't defined, but it wasn't about that. So so that all felt very naturalistic, which I really liked, because it really bugs me when you have a film set in another country and then all of a sudden they're just talking English. Actually that stuff sort of is like that. And I think it's interesting. I think. We just look at the director, because I noticed at the end the director wrote and directed it.
But it was based on a book.
And it's based on a novel. Presumably the novel, I don't know, it'd be interesting to find out who it was written by. Maybe they know of this world. And I think that's actually a struggle when you're a writer-director and when you know of this world and you want it to be very, very realistic, you can stick with it so much that actually it becomes... not as relatable, to other people.
Well, really, there's a brilliant moment in it where they're walking through the jungle down a road, and a couple of UN trucks drive by with reporters in them, just
I saw that.
clicking photos, and that's us.
Exactly.
That's as much reference as our world gets. And I don't think really it should have any more. Like I'm saying, it should have any more reference than that. But that is literally them saying you're on the other. Like that is how we normally view these things.
Well, I think that was a really, really good bit of cinematography. I thought, and that was a really good visual bit, wasn't it? Where we saw those people. But there's only white faces we saw were contained. And in this thing, and also the other white faces we saw. Sorry, it's funny thinking of this. Were also contained in like the TV. It was kind of interesting, and that comes back to that thing that's really strong about the films. It immerses you in that world. His perspective. I think it could have stuck with it a bit more. I think we see too much of the commander's world. I think if we could stuck with his
maybe
perspective.
It shows really my expectations and how like Western movies have trained us and what we expect from like that moment. It focused on the female, I assume, journalist, maybe aid worker in that truck, and for some reason in my head it popped in like, oh, is she going to be a character now? Like, is she going to like come in and try and save him? Or
and that would have been terrible.
That would have been terrible. And that is probably one of the things that might have happened had it not. Possibly, we're talking as if we know how much freedom it had, but it feels like they had a lot of freedom to make what they wanted.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that is a very good thing.
But I think that's one thing that probably would have happened. You would have had some white main character come in and try and talk to it. It wouldn't have been, especially at the end there, you would have had something, but it was nice how it was very self-contained and it didn't really talk about, I mean, there's a bit of world politics in there with the,
What is that film King? What is it with the Scottish dude?
Oh, King of Scotland or whatever.
Last King of Scotland.
Last King of Scotland.
Yeah. See that's an example of a film like that where you have a white character come in.
A white central perspective on.
Whereas this, which is what is so great about this film, I think.
Yeah.
Is that you have someone in that world already, and you watch their progression through it, and that's why it's fascinating. Is you see their original world, which starts out just like any normal person, you know, family, you know, dreams, all that sort of stuff. And the brother wants to get with the girl, you know, and it starts out just like we'd imagine it, you know, our lives. And then all of a sudden it just progresses, doesn't it, through this world that we find unimaginable. And that's why it's so fascinating.
I think one of the good things that, like you were saying about it's not tied to a country or actual events, or you don't really know what the goals are or what's... It really gets across that feeling of senselessness, of like, why is this happening?
Yeah.
Like, and probably from Argu's perspective and lots of child soldiers perspective, they don't know why it's happening.
They have no idea.
They just know that someone killed their family or someone took their village and they're angry about it.
Yeah, and they need their family. Yeah.
So it really gets that. But that's why it's quite difficult to watch as well, because it gives you nothing to grip to. Because I think the emotion they're trying to get across is senselessness.
Okay, he's got to take that. So we'll continue. I feel like a bit like where in Wayne's World, where Wayne leaves Garth on his own, and I just have to talk now. Yeah. Oh, he's good. That's good.
One thing, we've only got like 5 minutes left.
Yeah, that's
one thing I did want to say about, because we've only got a few minutes left, just finally wrapping up. It's not really a big point, but I liked how the costume design of Argu, like, I didn't really notice it on any other one, so I don't want to say none of the other child soldiers, but Argu's wearing massive boots, adult sized boots, big baggy adult sized trousers, and it really emphasises that he is a child in a man's world. Like, it really emphasises that, and there's lots of stuff, like we were talking at the beginning about symbolism. And when we were talking about the bigger kind of like the purple field bit with the purple or pink field with the tribal songs, but there's lots of also little bits that show stuff like that, you know, that emphasise the world they're in.
How did you? What was you? Can I ask you what? I think we got time. What was your view on the purple bit, the pink bit? Like, how? What did that mean?
What did it mean?
Yeah.
Well, he is tripping out a bit. That thing when he cut his head. And
is that drugs?
I assume it is.
Oh, okay.
Because it seemed to symbolise that.
I see.
And the only other time they do that is at the beginning when he's going through his initiation. And he's sitting over the fire. I assume, I don't know if it's smoke from the fire.
And there's another colour change where he closes his eyes when he has to wait.
Yeah.
You know.
So I assume he's tripping out a little bit.
Yeah.
But it is.
I didn't like it. I just didn't see the point of it. That's one thing. I just didn't get it. I don't know. It just wasn't clear. I don't know. So overall, I think with this film, I think what I would say, my opinion of it is, it's a fascinating film. It is immersive, and it puts you in the world of what it is like to be, you know, a child, have your family taken away, and then become a soldier. And I think that is an important watch. Because we need to know these films do need to be made. It isn't enjoyable. It's very funny at the beginning. I don't think we talked about that. But
I don't think it has to be enjoyable though, does it? I mean,
because it's not. You know, that stuff.
Yeah.
So, but I think the script could have been a lot stronger. I think there could have been more, a better relationship with his mother. If I had more, if I could, because it's very difficult to empathise with someone like that, because we've never been in that world. But if we could have more links to the parents and the mother, you know, I think I think it would have been more powerful.
Yeah.
I felt that was the point at the end of the film. He mentions his mother, his father, and all that stuff. So I think the script just could have been better. Other than that, I think it's excellent, and the performances are incredible. Especially the kid who played Argu. He was just amazing. You know.
Just quickly as well, we've only got like a minute left, but. So, do you think it got snubbed for the Oscars? Because that was a big thing.
Well, I think the kid deserved something for that performance, some sort of award.
I haven't watched all of the Oscar films. I can't remember what they were.
Sure,
but I think it's definitely up there. Whether it's we haven't really got time to get into the debate about whether it's a race thing or whether it's because it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's what the Academy said, is because it didn't have a proper distribution.
I have, yeah.
What it did?
It still had its 7 days.
Oh, did it? At cinema?
Yeah,
okay.
It could have done. But, yeah, it's a difficult one because I can't remember all the lists off the top of my head, and I haven't seen them all. I do get the feeling though that it wasn't that incredible, and I didn't come away from it thinking, I don't care how good the rest of the films in the Oscars were.
Yeah.
This deserves to be there.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, you know,
so
to talk about the race thing, I saw a film called Tangerine, which is mostly a black cast, and I would say that's an excellent film that really deserves something. And this deserves something for performance, I think. Probably not script. I think scripts is not quite there. But yeah, I'd agree. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So quickly, we've got 20 seconds left.
So you can subscribe down there. Just click subscribe. You can follow on SoundCloud if you're listening. You can tweet at me at Ryd Cook. And
our next film.
Oh yeah, we're gonna do the Godfather
Part 1.
Yes,
no,
classic.
3 of them.
Yeah.
I don't think we could discuss all 3 of them in half an hour.
Okay. Goodbye.
Bye.